in the dry heart of northwestern New Mexico, surrounded by vast mesas and silent red stone cliffs, lies one of North America's greatest archaeological wonders, Chaco Canyon. About 150 miles northwest of Albuquerque, this remote desert basin preserves the legacy of a civilization that flourished between the 9th and 11th centuries of our era. The people who lived here are known today as the ancestral Puebloans, or the Anasazi. They built monumental stone dwellings that still defy time, complex structures like Pueblo Bonito, whose walls form sweeping arcs and perfectly aligned corridors. Their city was not simply a collection of homes, but a carefully designed reflection of their understanding of the cosmos. Each structure, each plaza, was built with mathematical precision. The layout of Chaco Canyon aligns with the paths of the sun and the moon, marking seasonal cycles and even long-term lunar rhythms spanning more than 5,000 years. These alignments reveal a sophisticated grasp of astronomy and geometry, achieved without modern tools, yet executed with near-perfect accuracy. For the ancestral Puebloans, this harmony between architecture and the sky carried deep spiritual meaning. They saw the world as divided into 3 realms: the heavens above, the spiritual depths below, and the human world that bridges both. Chaco Canyon was the center of that balance, a sacred landscape where the order of the universe was made visible in stone. Centuries later, the canyon remains a silent witness to that vision, a place where science and spirituality were never separate but intertwined, each stone echoing the pulse of the stars. How the builders of Chaco Canyon achieved such architectural mastery without modern technology remains a subject of wonder and study. Their stonework, carved from the desert itself, reflects a precision that continues to challenge archaeologists. Beyond the scientific record, however, legends passed down through generations speak of teachings that did not originate on Earth. In Pueblo oral traditions, stories tell of visitors from the stars, beings who shared wisdom about balance, creation, and the cycles of the heavens. Some researchers of alternative history suggest that these tales inspired the ancestral Puebloans' deep fascination with the cosmos. Within this worldview, existence was not confined to a single plane. Reality was layered, and sacred ceremonies sought to bridge those realms. Among the rituals once practiced here was something later described as crystal stargazing, a meditative tradition in which reflective crystals and moonlight were used to seek visions of distant worlds or different moments in time. While archaeology cannot confirm literal time travel, these accounts reveal how profoundly the sky shaped spiritual life at Chaco. High in the cliffs, inside ancient dwellings, faint carvings depict constellations, spirals, and celestial patterns. To those who lived here, Such markings may have represented pathways between the earthly and the divine. The spiral, a symbol found throughout the canyon, is thought by some to represent movement of stars, of souls, or of creation itself. At the site known as Una Vida, rock engravings show both familiar animals and abstract, human-like forms. Some interpret one of these figures as holding a swirling emblem reminiscent of a galaxy. While mainstream archaeology sees these as expressions of cosmology and myth, others view them as signs of contact between the ancestral Puebloans and what they called the Star People. Whether these stories describe real encounters or serve as sacred metaphors for cosmic origin, they remain part of a legacy that links humanity to the heavens. Chaco Canyon endures as a meeting place between earth and sky, myth and science, the known and the mysterious. Among the sandstone walls of the canyon, archaeologists have recorded 4 remarkable petroglyphs shaped like human figures. One of them appears suspended above the others, its head adorned with 2 thin projections resembling antennae. To some, this image evokes an ancient legend shared by the Hopi, a people considered descendants of the ancestral Puebloans. In Hopi oral tradition, there is a story of the ant people, mysterious beings who emerged during a time of great catastrophe. These entities are said to have sheltered humanity beneath the earth when the first world faced destruction. The legends describe them as benevolent helpers, cosmic visitors who guided the Hopi to safety and taught them how to live in harmony once the surface became habitable again. Some interpreters, particularly within speculative archaeology, have drawn parallels between these ant people and the ancient Anunnaki of Mesopotamian myth, divine figures said to have descended from the heavens to shape early civilization. The linguistic coincidence is often noted. In the Hopi language, Anu translates to ant, while Naki means friend. Together, they form Anu-Naki, literally ant friends. While mainstream linguistics considers this connection coincidental, the resonance between the 2 mythologies remains striking. Both speak of beings who arrived from the sky, intervened in times of chaos, and imparted the knowledge that allowed humanity to begin anew. Whether viewed as legend, metaphor, or distant cultural memory, these stories reflect an enduring human theme, the belief that our origins are interwoven with forces beyond the visible world. Roswell, New Mexico, July 1947. Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer at the Roswell Army Airfield, is ordered to transport the strange debris recovered from a remote crash site. His destination is Fort Worth, Texas, home to the headquarters of the 8th Air Force, where Brigadier General Roger Ramey awaits. Together, they are expected to brief the press about what has already been called the crash of a flying disc. When Marcel arrives, the atmosphere quickly changes. According to his later testimony, he is asked to step aside while preparations are made for the press photographs. By the time the cameras flash, the wreckage displayed on the floor is not the material he had handled in Roswell. What appears before the journalists is a simple array of metallic foil and wooden struts, consistent with a weather balloon. The dramatic announcement of an unidentified craft quietly dissolves into a routine explanation. And reporters soon leave the base, convinced the mystery is over. Among UFO historians, this moment is often described as the turning point in the Roswell narrative. Evidence, they argue, may have been substituted before the photographs were taken. One particular image continues to fuel debate: the shot of General Ramey standing beside Jesse Marcel, holding a folded sheet of paper known today as the Ramey Memo. Decades later, advances in photographic enhancement allowed researchers to isolate fragments of the text. Words such as "victims of the wreck" and "disc, which we will ship" appear faintly within the message. If authentic, the language conflicts with the official claim that the debris was nothing more than a weather balloon. For many investigators, this discrepancy represents potential proof of a cover-up, an operation that removed both the craft and its occupants from public view. Yet no physical evidence confirming that hypothesis has ever been verified. The original debris, if it still exists, has never resurfaced. Still, the question lingers in the desert winds around Roswell. The ground where the incident occurred remains undisturbed, a silent witness. If remnants of the crash were buried or lost, they may still rest beneath the New Mexico soil, awaiting discovery, or perhaps destined to remain forever hidden. Central New Mexico, October 19th, 2019. Investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe returns to the desert outside Roswell, near a barren stretch locals call the skip site. Joining her is Giorgio Tsoukalos, known for his research into the ancient astronaut hypothesis. This area, according to eyewitness accounts, is where one of the mysterious objects reportedly seen in July 1947 first struck the ground before ricocheting back into the sky, scattering debris across the plain. Their guide today is Professor Frank Kimbler, a geologist and earth science instructor who has spent nearly a decade examining the region. Using infrared imaging and metal detection surveys, Kimbler has traced what he believes to be the flight path of the alleged craft. His reasoning is straightforward. When any object impacts the ground, fragments, whether metallic panels, fasteners, or control components, should disperse along the terrain's natural slope. Since 2011, Kimbler has recovered more than a dozen small metal fragments from the surrounding soil. Laboratory tests, conducted at several institutions, revealed unusual properties in the alloy composition, primarily a mixture of magnesium and zinc, layered in microscopic bands, not typical of conventional aerospace materials. When Howe and Tsoukalos examine the specimens, the pieces appear twisted, compacted, and oddly pristine despite the passing decades. Each fragment is no larger than a fingernail, suggesting material that could easily have escaped initial military recovery efforts in 1947. Under magnification, the metals display intricate internal layering, features consistent across multiple samples gathered from different parts of the site. To Kimbler, the patterns resemble banding observed in his earlier photomicrographs of the same region's artifacts. As a geologist, he recognizes nothing comparable among terrestrial alloys formed by natural processes or known manufacturing. Howe interprets this as potential evidence of technology beyond human design, while Tsoukalos describes the discovery as tangible proof of an intelligence not of this world. The samples remain under study, their origins unresolved. Whether they are remnants of classified experiments or relics of something far more extraordinary, the fragments of Roswell's desert continue to blur the boundary between science and myth, silent witnesses to a mystery that refuses to fade beneath the New Mexico sun. Alamogordo, New Mexico, July 16th, 1945. Before dawn, a group of military officers and scientists gathers on the barren sands of the New Mexican desert. They have come to witness a weapon unlike any ever built. Some expect it to fail completely. Others fear it could ignite the atmosphere or destroy the entire state. For safety, observation posts are set up between 10 and 20 miles away. At precisely 5:29 and 45 seconds, the first atomic bomb, code-named Trinity, is detonated. A fireball 600 feet across engulfs the desert floor, followed by an explosion equivalent to 20,000 tons of TNT. The rising mushroom cloud climbs more than 7 miles into the sky. Its shockwave felt nearly 100 miles away. The world has entered a new age. Humanity now possesses a weapon powerful enough to reshape the planet. Even Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer, who led the project, is shaken by what he sees. His words later capture the enormity of that moment. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most were silent. For the first time in history, the Earth had felt the touch of a human-made sun. Yet the thought lingers. Could this have happened before? Could an explosion of even greater magnitude have once scarred the Earth in an age long forgotten? Some independent researchers point to ancient traditions describing catastrophic wars fought with weapons of unimaginable power. Their attention often turns to the Hindu epics, particularly the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, texts composed between the 5th and 2nd centuries BC, and attributed to India's mythic past. Within their 100,000 verses, these works recount the battles of the ancient empire of Rama, said to have existed more than 12,000 years ago, thousands of years before recorded history in Mesopotamia. The stories tell of celestial chariots soaring through the air and divine beings wielding luminous weapons that could level entire cities. Among them was the Brahma Astra, described as a weapon of overwhelming radiance that burned everything in its path. The texts speak of heat brighter than 1,000 suns, trees consumed by fire, and survivors whose hair and nails fell away in the aftermath. To proponents of the ancient astronaut hypothesis, these passages suggest a memory of nuclear warfare, an echo of advanced technology witnessed by early civilizations. To conventional scholars, they are poetic allegories, depictions of divine wrath and cosmic struggle, rather than evidence of lost science. No archaeological trace supports the existence of an ancient atomic event, yet the imagery remains hauntingly familiar to those who have seen modern weapons unleashed. The Trinity test marked humanity's own encounter with that same terrible brilliance. In the deserts of New Mexico, the fire described in the ancient texts was born again, this time by human hands. In July of 1947, an unidentified object fell from the sky into the desert outside Roswell, New Mexico, an event that would become the most recognized UFO incident in modern history. What set it apart was not rumor, but an official military statement. The Roswell Army Airfield itself reported the recovery of a flying disc. On July 8th and 9th, newspapers across the nation printed the same extraordinary headline: Army captures flying disc outside of Roswell. The source of that announcement was Walter Haut, the base's public information officer, who delivered the press release directly to local journalists. But within days, the military reversed its position. The mysterious craft was reclassified as nothing more than a weather balloon, and the story that had electrified the public abruptly deflated. Still, questions lingered. If the debris was ordinary, why was it reportedly transported to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio for analysis? To some investigators, the decision suggested that the material was more complex than standard meteorological equipment. The recovery operation itself appeared improvised, an urgent scramble to contain an event that had already drawn attention. Eyewitnesses later recalled visiting the site before the military's arrival, raising the possibility that fragments might have been overlooked during the cleanup. Decades later, new documents reignited the debate. In April 2011, the Federal Bureau of Investigation released thousands of files through its digital archive, including a 1950 memorandum addressed to Director J. Edgar Hoover. The briefing referred to 3 flying discs recovered in New Mexico, a line that many researchers cite as potential corroboration of long-standing claims that multiple craft were involved in the Roswell episode. During the late 1940s, numerous unidentified aerial incidents were also recorded around White Sands Proving Ground, though most remain obscure to the public record. Nearly half a century later, the mystery deepened again. In 1996, radio broadcaster Art Bell, host of Coast to Coast AM, received an anonymous package containing a small box and a letter. Inside were metallic fragments and documents claiming that the sender's grandfather, an Army engineer, had recovered the pieces from a wedge-shaped craft between Roswell and White Sands in 1948. The grandson, identifying himself as a sergeant, asked that the materials be examined and made public. Bell forwarded the fragments to investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe, who commissioned laboratory tests at a university research facility. Using scanning electron microscopy and X-ray fluorescence spectrometry, analysts discovered alternating microscopic layers of bismuth, magnesium, and zinc, each only a few microns thick. An arrangement not found in conventional alloys or aerospace composites. The composition defied easy explanation, prompting speculation that the material represented advanced or non-terrestrial engineering. Though no definitive link to the Roswell debris has ever been proven, similar accounts and artifacts have surfaced over the years, each adding another thread to a mystery that refuses to settle. Whether the fragments are remnants of classified research or evidence of something far beyond Earth, the desert of New Mexico continues to hold its secrets, scattered and silent beneath the sand. Decades have passed since the summer of 1947, yet the name Roswell still echoes through the corridors of modern myth. Reports were written, statements retracted, and evidence locked away. Scientists have analyzed the fragments, officials have issued explanations, and witnesses have long since faded into memory. Still, the story endures, reborn in every generation that looks to the sky and wonders what truly fell to Earth. In the endless silence of the New Mexico desert, time moves differently. The winds erase footprints, but not questions. Somewhere beneath the shifting sands may lie the remnants of something extraordinary, or simply the remains of a misunderstanding magnified by history. Either way, Roswell stands as a mirror, reflecting both our curiosity and our fear of the unknown. For every photograph examined and every file unsealed, one truth remains. Humanity has always searched for meaning in the mysteries above us. Whether the answers lie among the stars or within our own need to believe, the desert keeps its secrets, patiently, quietly, waiting for those who still dare to look.